Woman sitting to my left, Marina, who I got to meet several months ago, and who has a fascinating story and a fascinating product line and a view of life which I think is quite compelling. And I think of it as one of those well-kept secrets that needs to be told. And it's in part a well-kept secret because Marina's story and her ability to help people, particularly women, slow down the aging process and look beautiful throughout their lives, men as well, dates back not to as much to modern discoveries, but to ancient potions and ingredients that Marina was exposed to as a young woman when she grew up in St. Petersburg in what was the Soviet Union. And very interesting background. Why don't you tell us a bit, Marina, about your background, like where you were born and when you started to become cognizant of beauty and style and the things that occupy your life today.
First of all, thank you so much for giving me a lovely introduction. Thank you. You are very kind. Well, I was born in Soviet Union, and I was lucky to be born into a family of artists, musicians. My mom is a pianist. My grandfather, her father, happened to be a professor of violin, and he was my father's professor of violin. So my parents met through being introduced in a conservatory where my mom used to work in her father's class. She was an accompanist, and my dad was actually trained to be a classical violinist. And so this is how they met. And through, I guess, my mother's, my father's, my grandfather's connections, I had the most amazing exposure to culture of all sorts, whether it's paintings and being in art museums on a weekly basis, or going to theaters practically on a bi-weekly basis, and knowing every opera there is to know by the age of 7, thanks to my grandfather. And it's just tons of culture, beautiful architecture, beautiful city, nice people, nice life. I can't complain. I had a great childhood.
So would you say that you were exposed at a very early age to it sounds like life was art and art was life?
It truly was. You know, I remember myself at the age of 7 and my grandfather leading me to, for the first time, to Hermitage. And of course, all the basic explanations just for the 7-year-old child. But the beauty of it, of course, astounding, was just, I think, overwhelming. And, you know, we started with, little by little, one room per visit, just to kind of give me a slow introduction and not to overwhelm me. But that's how I was raised, I would say, in the rooms of Hermitage. Mm-hmm. Lucky for me, I'd say. Hermitage, the Russian Museum of Art, the Kirov Ballet, you know that. And
well, you know that my father and his family were Viennese, and so I got that artistic exposure when I was a child as well. It's something we have in common because I saw in that Viennese culture the love of style, music, food, understanding that life was not pragmatic only, that if you didn't have the beauty and the style, then it was, you know, there's an old expression, living well is the best revenge against the vagaries
Absolutely.
and uncertainties of life. And if you understand that art is one of the things that makes life beautiful, beyond simply getting up, going to work, going to sleep, but if you make it, if there's music to life and beauty to it, then it is something that takes life to a much higher level. And you saw that as a young woman.
I saw it as a young woman. I actually remember myself at the age of 2 being amazed by the handsomeness of my grandfather's students. They were mostly male violinists, They've come to our little apartment. My grandfather gave them lessons, and I, in the meantime, was watching from around the corner how this young, handsome guys with a violin in their hands were performing, and I think then I became kind of aware of myself as a girl, and
you also became aware of beauty.
I think so, yes.
What did you say to yourself about beauty? Do you remember when your first recollections of beauty?
My first recollection of beauty, of course, is my mother, because my mom, it was pretty much a post-war era. I was born only 11 years after the war. So obviously life in Russia wasn't exactly the way it is here in the United States, and there wasn't an overabundance that we're subjected to every day. It wasn't all that much, but my mom tried to, even though she was a pianist, but she was also a great seamstress, only because life forced her into it. So she was self-taught seamstress. So I remember how she would look, I hate to say that, but that's the truth, an old mattress covered with little flowery pattern, and how she would look at it and would say, you know what, when we dispose of it, when we're ready to dispose of it, we should probably take a double look at it, and perhaps I could strip the fabric and I could make a gorgeous dress for myself just out of it. And
that's an artistic
I
eye.
mean, yeah, exactly.